So I started getting bigger jobs. So we were doing like soffit, putting, piece of siding on people's houses, charging $150. You know, started laying down some LVP flooring that I've never done before. So he was showing me that. And, we were charging $300. So we went from $75 to $150 to $300 to $500 to the biggest job we were doing was $1,200, and we split it down the middle. Because he was like, "Hey, Vernon, why don't you help me do this, and we can split it down the middle, 50-50." I say, "All right, fine." So once I started seeing that, I was like, "Well, man, I was making $50. I'm making $150. I'm making $300. Now I'm charging $1,200 and walking away with $600. I'm like, I might can do something with this."
You are listening to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with host Kevin Jefferson. This is the #1 podcast for African American real estate professionals who are doing extraordinary things. It's time to tune in. And now, your host, the People's Lender, Kevin Jefferson.
Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today our guest is Mr. Vernon Roberts. How you doing, Vernon?
Good yourself, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Hey, for those who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are.
So my name is Vernon Roberts, man, and I'm a general contractor / carpenter. Been in the business now going about a year and a half. I do a lot of work for some real estate companies, Keller Williams being one. I'm doing residential. I just started doing a little bit of commercial, and married. Had one son. He passed away last year, and so we're doing some things, and we're blessed to still be here, man.
That's what's up. So, what was your background prior to becoming a contractor?
So I was a musician. That's all I did was music all my life, man. I was born and raised in church, and music was my thing. I thought I was going to strike it big with music. That was my focus forever. I mean, I still want to do music, but things have shifted now. But I can always go to music at any given time.
Gotcha. So, what made you get into contracting?
Well, it was something that was not, it wasn't planned. It kind of just fell in my lap. I always wanted to be in the real estate environment, atmosphere. My father was a electrician, and I worked with him when I was about 17, 18 years old. So I've been around the construction piece all my life, and I'm really good with my hands. I'm really good with bringing things together. That's always been my gift. Even if I can't actually do whatever that skill is, what I can do, I'm good enough to bring everything together to make everything work. So when I was, I think around 18, 19, I worked for my uncle, and he did masonry work. So I would work with him during the summer. So I was introduced to that atmosphere. So I had an electrician, then I had the masonry atmosphere. And then as I got older, I got curious. So I started seeing other people do things, and I just inquired. And there was one guy that I met, and I just asked him, could I, be a part and just watch. And then from there, I went into wholesaling.
Okay. So if you've been in the business for about a year and a half, that means you started during the midst of the pandemic in 2020?
Yes, sir.
Got you.
Started right in the midst of pandemic. Pandemic hit January, February. And I started messing around with it probably around March, April. And just I mean, I can't even explain it. I was just feeling my way through, helping someone. A guy was building my kennels, and I saw what he was doing, and I said, well, man, you shouldn't be doing this little bit of work. You need to, get out here and do some bigger jobs. And I said, well, I know some people, and I posted his work on Facebook. He built the kennel for me, and a lot of people started hitting me up, and I started sharing it. So I said, hey, man, I got a job for you. I got another job for you. Got another job for you. So he was like, hey, man, why don't you come and help me? So I was all for it because I was still in the learning process. I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to learn. And then it went on from there.
Got you. So at what point did you go from helping the gentleman with the kennels to you saying, hey, I think I'm going to start something of my own?
I would say probably 3 months in, I started looking at how things were transpiring, and I thought he was really good at what he was doing. And so again, I'm really good at bringing things together. I can coordinate. I'm very good at that. And so once I start seeing what he was able to do, I'm going to run with it. So you better be ready. I'm going to go 100 miles per hour. You better put your seatbelt on. And so I started getting bigger jobs. So we were doing like soffit, putting, piece of siding on people's houses, charging $150. Started laying down some LVP flooring that I've never done before. So he was showing me that. And, we were charging $300. So we went from $75 to $150 to $300 to $500 to the biggest job we were doing was $1,200, and we split it down the middle. Because he was like, hey, Vernon, why don't you help me do this, and we can split it down the middle, 50-50. I was like, all right, fine. So once I started seeing that, I was like, well, man, I was making $50. I'm making $150. I'm making $300. Now I'm charging $1,200 and walking away with $600. I'm like, I can do something with this. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me go out and try to find some bigger jobs. So I'm like, if we were at 75 and we made it to 1,200, I know what skill set I have. He has the skill set, to actually do the work. Let me go for it. So, I started trying to do jobs that, we're installing doors, installing closets. Come to find out, he wasn't really good at certain things. So then what happened was I ended up having paying people money's back. And I'm like, this is not good. So, without going into detail, there was a lot of other things that came with it. He had some issues, and it was ready to start to make me have a bad name, and I hadn't even got started. I didn't have any license. I didn't have a business name. I didn't have no insurance. I didn't have a business account. I didn't have anything. I was out there just trying to figure it out. And I was so successful at that. I had 4 jobs lined up, and I could not put him on these jobs. So what I'm going to do now? And, by then I already had a good following on Facebook. So I made a post and said, look, is there anybody that can help me out? I'm looking for a carpenter. I have about 3 or 4 jobs I need done immediately. And the guy hit me up, and, this guy was amazing. And once he came in and we did one job, we did the job in, literally 3 hours. And then, we did the other 3. And he was just blowing my mind. So I'm like, hey, I think try to stick with this guy. So it went on from there, and it was just on and popping. And now I was in a position to where I could almost bid on any type of job, but I didn't even know really how to bid. So I used common sense. I used common sense. I asked him about some things. I looked at some things on YouTube, kind of little experience that I had years ago being out with my father and my uncle. And I just put all that together and, you know, it was like a match made in heaven. So I went from $75 to $150 to $1,500 to $2,500 to $4,000 in about 8 months. I was bidding jobs at $9,000. And what he was charging me, there was so much room for me to make money. You know, he only wanted 40% of the labor. And what he would do was he would write out the material list. He would look up the materials. I would talk to the homeowner, the resident, and it just went on from that. And we did excellent work, and I would post it. So from there, people started seeing that, and I started getting connected with realtor companies, man. And it was on.
That's crazy. So at what point did you begin to expand? So it sounds like at this point, the time it's just you and that one contractor, right? How did you grow from there?
I really took it serious, and I got a call from a friend of mine who asked me to do some work for a realtor company, and he asked me. He said, "Hey," he called me by my middle name. He said, "Tell him, man." He's like, "You got your license insured?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Man, I got some things, but you got to get your license, and you got to get insured." So I said, "All right." So I'd already been doing this for about 7 months, just figuring this out, making some good money. And there was a lady by the name of Kim Adams. She owns Mountain Consulting, and she saw what I was doing on Facebook, and we had a meeting, and she sat me down and told me what I needed to do. And at that point, once I saw what she was doing, and I saw what I have accomplished in, a little over a half a year, that was the point I said, you know what? This guy's been sticking with me. We're making good money. I've actually had a chance to work with a realtor company. I'm ready to take this serious. I was working with some kids, at-risk kids with this youth nonprofit business in Wilmington, and the COVID hit and I lost that job. So I really didn't have anything. So I just bought a new house. So I had no other choice but to take this serious, because now I really need to feed my family. And when I really took it serious, it just took off. That was the point that I said, you know what, I'm going to run with this thing, and I'm going to make it my future.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So now you're licensed and bonded and insured. How many crews do you currently have?
2.
Okay. And are you still actively doing work, or are you now the guy that's looking at the jobs, bidding it out, and then have your crews doing the work?
I've always been a hands-on guy. I see a lot of CEOs, they tell people go do this, you do this, and they sit in their house and chill or whatever they want to do, riding around in the truck. Ever since I've started, I've been on every single job. There's not a job the only time I've never been on a job, if there's 3 jobs going on at the same time. And, I caught COVID about a few weeks ago, about last month, and I was home every day for 3.5 weeks. But other than that, from day one, even when I first met the other guy, I've been on every job, every single job. I'm physically working, and I choose to do that because I actually like it. And number 2, I wanted to learn the business. I wanted to be hands-on, because one thing I know about this business, if one of your guys are sick or they can't make it, I wanted to at least be able to try to hold it down. I don't want to be able to say, hey man, we can't be there today, but I need to be there now. You know what I mean? So if I'm there with him every day, learning this new business here, as far as the skill physically, then you can't ask for nothing better.
Got you. So looking now at your success as a contractor, what would you do differently in the beginning that you learned later on?
What would I do different? I don't know. So because it wasn't planned.
Right.
So if it was planned, I would probably took some classes. I would probably did some schooling, took some schooling to learn as far as general contracting, as far as carpentry. I would definitely probably did that.
So I'm watching as you post. I'm watching as you post, and I'm like, Telly is on to something, because I know you,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I know you. I know your ability to bring things together, and I'm not surprised at your success, right? But from our many conversations, man, what do you think the issue is with keeping, now that you're a contractor, general contractor, what do you think are some of the issues that other contractors run into, but they don't have the ability to navigate?
What I've seen, number one, is communication. The communication is horrible in this field. Number two, I think, if I'll take contractors. They bite off more than they can chew, and I think what happens is it's a lot of money in this business. Okay. If you have a skill, your trade, plumber, electrician, a carpenter, it's like being a musician. You will always be able to make money, period. Whether it's $50, $700, you're always going to make money. And if you don't come into this, in this business with a mindset to run it as a company, as a true business, you will get stuck into being a hustler. And when you move as a hustler, that's when everything happens, because now, as a hustler and a businessman, it's two different entities. So as a hustler, you say, look, I got to do this. This guy called me over here. I need to go make this 1,500. And that 1,500 might take you 2 days, right? You get another call and someone says, they accept your bid, and that job is 3,000. And that job is 4 days. Then you have someone that calls you for another job that's $250 real quick. If the first job you're doing takes 2 days, but you don't have the materials to finish, in your mind, I'm gonna run over here and do this 250, right? Because you're hustling, like you got to get this money. So you go do the 250, but then you got the $3,000 job. So you're like, okay, this only took me half a day. Let me go start on this $3,000 job. The materials comes in the next day. What you're going to do is like, hey, I got to get over here and finish this. So now you leave this job here for 3,000 in the midst of it, because it's 4 days. You start on that day one, you go back over to the original. Are we losing internet connection?
I think we're good. Yeah, I can hear you.
So we go back to the first one. Now, when you go back to the first one, now you're getting 2 or 3 more calls. So it's like you're jumping all over. You're going to miss something. And if I can speak for the contractors, I really don't believe, because I'm in the field, and just about 90% of my customers that I have serviced, they've said the same thing about every contractor. And I just don't see that the contractors are doing this purposely, going to the job and just don't finish. They bite off too much that they can chew. They don't have administration. They're not structured. And even as structured as I am, I was doing everything myself. I was doing the finances myself. I was doing the paperwork myself. I was doing the bidding myself. I was doing the scheduling. I was on the job. So I'm doing 5 different things. You're only one person. I had my wife helping me. You're going to miss something. It's going to happen. And out of sight, out of mind. You know, you tell somebody that you're going to come do a bid, and you're literally thinking about doing it, but you totally forget. Now, you told the people that you would be there at 9:00, and you don't even show up, you don't call. Now, you're not doing it purposely, you just totally forgot. So, getting back to your question, I think what the problem is, we got to come in with a mindset as setting it up with a business. Now, I have a hired executive assistant. She's on payroll every week. This has been the best thing in my life. Now, you know, I don't have to worry about my emails. I don't have to worry about calling my customers. She handles all that. If that answers your question.
It does. It's the, it sounds like it's the ability to manage the jobs, but also understand that in order to manage the jobs, you need help managing the systems. Because if you're out on the job and you're bidding 5 jobs, and let's say your wife is doing administrative work as well, there's still things that need to be done in terms of returning phone calls. Like, for instance, when you were out with COVID and your wife was out with COVID, business continued to run. If you didn't have that system, that could have been the end of your business.
Yeah.
So,
and I think along with that, you have to be able to, I don't want to say take a loss, but people make so much money and they have different things they have to take care of. But you have to have the mindset to say, look, I got to take some money and put aside to invest back in my business. And I know about 10 contractors right now. And I mean, they're very good. Neither one of them have personal assistants. And they have the money to do it, you know, and I don't really pay my personal assistant a whole lot of money. I mean, she gets paid well, but it's not like I'm paying her $50,000 a year. Even if you pay someone $200, $300 a week, contractors are making a minimum $2,000 a week, you know, and that's hardly not doing anything. If you do 4 jobs at $300, you're already at 12. You know what I mean? 1,200. So you can take $200 out of that to help run your business. So you have to be willing to invest back into your business. You have to.
Got you. If someone was to come to you and say, hey, Vernon, I'd like to get into the contracting business, what would be one of the first 2 things you would tell them to do right off the bat?
I wouldn't even tell them. I would probably ask questions.
Okay. What would those questions be?
Why do you want to do it? Because if you want to do it for the money, I would say no. You got to, number one, it's got to be something that you really want to do. I really like what I do. I like music, but I'm really liking this better than music, honestly. I found a niche. That would be my first question. Why do you want to do this? Number 2, do you have any knowledge of the business? Everybody's not, and I'm not going to say lucky. I don't like to use the word because, you know, I believe in God, and everybody's not blessed like I am. You know, if I want to speak on other people, how they would say you're lucky. I'm telling you, I can't even take the credit for how I jumped into this. You know, I would say my first 6 weeks coming into the business, I made $25,000 with a person who did not know nothing of what they were doing. I actually, you know, and I when I first started this, people were, you know, I did a lot of clients that people knew me, and everybody knows me as a musician. And they said, "Well, Vernon, like, how did you get into this? Like, what, you played keyboard all your life? I didn't know you knew how to do this." And I'm very honest. I said, "Well, I didn't. You know, I don't lie about it. I absolutely had no idea what I was doing. But my first 6 weeks, I made 25. That me and my wife, I'm telling you, we sat at the couch and we looked at our bank statements and it was like, I've never made this much money in my life. This is ridiculous."
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And I get emotional about it, but yeah. So I would definitely ask them, you know, why you want to do it. You know, definitely get some education. Get some education. I have a different type of gift. Everybody doesn't have this gift. You know what I mean? So what I'll tell you how I did it might not work for you, but education is always going to work. Knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key. The Bible says, you know, people we perish for lack of knowledge.
Right.
So, you know, that is the key.
Did your father, at any point, do you utilize your father or uncle with their expertise in terms of certain things if you come across a foundation issue or electrical issue?
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because my dad's been retired for about 8-9 years now. And you know, in this business, it's these subcontractors, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. They show up, they don't show up. They show up and don't do the work how they're supposed to. And I had a situation where I didn't have an electrician that for an inspection that I had to do for Keller Williams, and I called my dad up and I was like, "Hey, Dad, man, I need you to come check something. I don't have nobody to do it, and I definitely can't do it myself." And it felt good to have my dad come back out. And I mean, for a couple hours, man, I paid him like $400. He was just like, he said, "Son, I didn't even really do anything."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So where do you see Promise Builders going in the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh man, you know, it unlimited. You know, now that I've learned a lot, the name is out there now. It's out there really heavy. I always wanted to get into flipping houses, and I'm doing that now. I've only been in it 3.5 months. I just closed on my first property. Well, I'll be closing next week on my first flip, and I'm starting my second flip on Monday. So, you know, everything is coming together, but, you know, I want to get into new construction. I plan by next year to do new construction, probably around April. And then from that, I want to get into commercial, government contracts, federal contracts. With that, I definitely got to get educated. I got to get a lot of different certifications. So that's where the part where we talked about earlier, you know, I got to get the knowledge. So I got to invest back into myself in order to go to that next level. But that's where I see Promise Builders going. Custom homes. Yeah.
What do you guys specialize in?
Everything. It's everything. I would say that everything. I mean, we really do. I would say one of his top skills is trim work. So the guy that I have, he had a company down to the beach, and he had 15 trucks, 40 employees. He was grossing about 1.5 million a year. And he got jammed up. He started getting into drugs and drinking, and he messed himself up and got locked up. And he did a 8-year bid. When he got locked up, he had like 4 jet skis, he had 15 company trucks, he had 2 condos. He had $850,000 in the bank account. He had a lot of stuff, and when he came out, only thing he had left was a pickup truck that he paid like 60 grand for, and he had $10,000. His wife took everything from him, and then she divorced him. Yeah. So he knows the business. He's done it, So now money is not a driving point for him. And this guy now is really showing me how to take my business to the next level. All he wants to do is just do good work. And he's a family man. He's not married now, but he has 2 daughters that, he'll do anything for them. So it's more quality time, spending time with his girls now. All that he has, he's deposited it into me. So I don't know how we got here, man, but what was the question, man?
Just like, where do you see Promise Builders going? And then you're talking about growing into different aspects of the building. But that's good.
You said what was the specialty?
Specialty.
Yep. Trim work. So he was doing like all the big $1 million homes down to the beach. You do the trim work. He had 5 builders that he was working for. That he had they had subcontract his company out. So he's amazing with trim. But framing, drywall. I would say, what are we good at? We're quick. We're very fast. If you look on the Better Business Bureau and look at the comments, everybody says that we don't play any games. We're in and out. It's funny because a lot of people, when we do a bid, it was like, well, how long is this going to take? About a week or 2. And we're sitting, well, not me, because he doesn't do any bids. By the way, he's never done, the guy that I have, he's never been on not one bid. I've done every bid from day one. But when we're talking to the homeowners, they'll say, so is this going to take, we're doing a bathroom remodel, this is going to take about 2-3 weeks. I'm like, no, about 2 days. And they really can't understand that. 2 to 3 days to the most. Like if it's 3 days, we ran into something that we didn't expect. But, you're talking about 2 days. I've done about 4 or 5 bathroom remodels. And I think out of those, maybe one took 4 days. It was a trailer, and the plumbing wasn't right. So he had to have somebody come in and do some other stuff, which put us back, and we had to come back. But most of the time it's 2 days.
So what system do you have in place that allows for you to operate that quickly?
Work ethic. We work hard and fast, man. The guy that I have, he's amazing. He's amazing. And that's how I'm able to do multiple jobs now at one time.
So in terms of his skill set, is he more so of a foreman who does work, or do you have equally skilled laborers along with him? Because it takes more than one person on a job to do it quickly.
So actually, it's usually just me and him. 90% of our jobs have just been me and him. If I hire laborers, I'm hiring people that, I need you to bring the drywall in, or I need you to bring the lumber in, or I need you to clean up. We did a 1,400 square foot basement, and it was just me and him. And we knocked this basement out. Just me and him. I think it was about 30 days. We did the LVP flooring in a 1,400 square foot basement. Probably 500 of that was open. Everything else, it was 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. We installed a bathroom. It was a recreation room. And believe it or not, just me and him. And I hired a labor on. No, I didn't. On the flooring, which is me and him, we laid 1,400 square feet of LVP, Kevin. I lie to you not, in one day. One day. Now I'm not gonna lie to you. When I came, when I got home, I was hurt. That next day, the next day we finished up in 2 hours, and we only did that because 95% of the job, of the flooring job, was done in one day. We could not finish it all because we ran out of flooring. So that next day I went to the flooring company first thing in the morning, and I think we went and I bought 5 boxes, and we came back and we finished in like 2 to 3 hours. But we really did in one day.
Wow. So what areas do you cover? Like what states do you cover?
Right now, we've done some work in Maryland. I just did a roofing job in Maryland probably about 3 weeks ago. So I have a crew for roofing. So we started doing some roofing. So we actually, my first roofing job was Sean Stewart's, the salon. And so me and him did that. I don't do good with heights. I'll do anything. I work my behind off, but I did that one roofing job. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. So we did another job. He did that, and we hired a labor, and I was on the ground, and I was handing things up. He had the other labor up there on the roof with him, but I ended up hiring some Mexicans, and so the Mexicans started doing my roofing. Now, if we do a small job, now I will get on a roof if it's a little small 1-story rancher. So if I fall, the most I'm going to do is probably break my leg or something, But anything with a pitch and all that, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Gotcha. So for anyone who's listening to the podcast that wants to reach out to you, learn more about how they could get into contracting or to get a bid from you and your team, how can they reach you? So
you can reach us. Our phone number is 302-603-2428. We will have our website. Our website will be up actually this week. It's www.promisebuildersconstruction.com. You can email us at promisebuildersllc. And those are the 3 aspects. And we're on Facebook. with Promise Builders. It's Promise Builders Construction, I think it is. I can't even remember.
We'll add the link in the bio so they can go directly to it. Yep. Well, man, it's the reason why I call you Money Earning Vernon. So, you know.
But man, I thank you for believing in me, Kevin. Man, I know we've talked for years. We've been knowing each other for years, and you know, it's an honor to be on this podcast. I know it's a little different for me because I didn't have this experience, man, and you know, being very successful. You know, a year and a half, I went from making $50 to, you know, probably this year it'll be 6 digits, man. You know, for it, as far as my company, you know, grossing about 6 digits easy. And, you know, going into flipping, you know, so in a year and a half, I went from starting doing a general contractor and flipping houses, and then looking at by next year, so you say in 2 years, doing new construction from a person who didn't know anything.
That's what's up. It's to be commended, man. You know, you just do it. You know, you use the skills that God gave you, which is organization and bringing things together, and let them do the rest of the work. Definitely got a strong support system, especially with your wife. And man, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? Proud to call you friend. Glad I could have you on the podcast to share your story. It's going to touch a lot of people, man. It'll touch a lot of people. And definitely look forward to seeing how your story continues. And we're going to do a part 2, probably a part 3, because I want to see your journey along the way, bro.
Sure.
All right, man. It's been the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with Kevin Jefferson. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the latest video drops.